don't I look like a fucking bitch if he accuses me of shilling for Israel, being paid by PV to shill for Israel, and then I go to him and I'm being fucking nice and like conciliatory?
I'm not saying be his
How
friend.
the fuck are people going to respect me? How the fuck are people going to respect me?
What I'm saying is, when you cover him because he's making, some, like, again, his Newsom thing. You want to cover that? Cool. Do it. All I'm saying is the way that you fucking do it is going to have an impact on who's going to listen to you.
I do think that the way that I engage with him is more effective than your way. I really don't think that with people like Hasan, you can be like, he is a snake. He is a liar. He's completely bad faith. He is a bully. And I don't think you should treat those people with respect. I don't think you should treat them in good faith. They're not in good faith. They don't even particularly try to hide that they're not good faith. He's just a total fucking snake. And I just, I'm never gonna be this nice person with him. That is not gonna happen. My own dignity, my own self-respect. You seem to be setting up the idea that I am leaning into like anti-left or anti-Hasan content for like monetary purposes rather than some kind of principled position. I have a little snack. So if you want to like make your pitch for why you think that that's something that I'm doing, and maybe I can snack on my little snacky snack and then respond.
Yeah,
to
snack your snack. The degree to it, like the anti-left hostility, I think is all like fucking. I just watched your chat and I listened to your super chats, and I'm sorry, but you just listened to probably when I say, so this motherfucking leftist, when I say that to you, there's a person you picture in your mind, and it's not Rashad and it's not Aaron, but I watch your chat and it's as if it's that kind of person. So that's the shit I'm talking about. Like the like reactionary response to the existence of these leftists. And don't get me wrong, we all have our pet leftist we hate. We all have our annoyances. We all like to make the theory jokes and all that stuff. But I think it's super thought terminating. And my ultimate issue is that there should be some coalition building. We've seen that there is enough of a voice there that they've got a vote that counts. And so therefore they have a place in this tent if we want them. We have the power. So the excuse that we don't want to go down the leftist, nightmare of, Stalin 2.0 to come, it just doesn't sit right with me that anyone thinks that's a serious threat when we, the liberals, hold the power. So the hyperfixation on people like Hasan and all that, it's like, man, I call out Hasan for saying stupid stuff. I call out liberals for saying stupid stuff. And it ties to it, but it's not directly related. But there is a huge issue with the way people react to criticisms of Democrats. And I brought this up in our conversation the other day, like that I will speak to certain issues that we've had as the United States, things that we've done wrong, whether it's through the CIA, whether it's through military action, whether it's through policy, whatever. And you talk to things that, are 10, 20, 30 decades down the line where these are now well studied and well established, but you bring it up outside of a fucking academic space, and people lose their goddamn minds, and they say thought-terminating things like America bad. So yeah, when I watch someone react to something and they see that someone is a socialist, or they see a hammer and sickle in their fucking profile, or they look up their Wikipedia and they read a paper by them, and in the paper they ignore everything the moment they come across a line that speaks to like class consciousness or something like that, or use the word the proletariat, whatever, like that kind of thought termination. It's like, I'm sorry, I thought we were supposed to be the Democrats, the party that is, educated and gives a fuck about like reality and not, doing stupid shit like the Republicans. It's pronouns and bio shit to me. When some conservative dipshit online sees pronouns and bio and says pronouns and bio, invalid, that shit pisses me off. And then the other thing is, I do not believe that we are moving the needle in any kind of positive direction with this hyperfixation on the online leftists. And it's that gets a ton of clicks, man. Fucking the tweet that got me blocked.
I wish I got more clicks on YouTube.
Well, I'm not a successful content creator. I haven't been since the StarCraft days, so I don't know what it looks like to move the needle on YouTube. But I
think it gets a lot more clicks to do like populist, anti-establishment stuff that I would call thought terminating. I think it gets way more clicks to do like the Kyle Kalinske thumbnails and the Hasan thumbnails, and that gets way more clicks than actually the Democratic Party is pretty good. That's like, I'm the guy that's like, it's like maybe 2 or 3 of us on the internet just fucking fighting that fight.
I mean, I think the Democratic Party is pretty great, but I also think that that has to come with a healthy dose of reality, and we need to be able to, call ourselves on our own bullshit.
Do you really think that my issue is, well, first of all, I want to so I don't mind having a conversation with someone who subscribes to Marxist ideology or wants to pursue some form of socialism or some form of communism, whatever word they come up with. I just had that conversation with Aaron. It was like an hour and a half. At no point did I get triggered or feel contempt. I have my opinions about her proposed system. I don't think it's fleshed out enough for me to be comfortable with it, but that conversation alone is not enough to trigger me. I'm like Econoboy. He came out as socialist shortly before he retired from the internet, and I like joked with him and like took jabs at him playfully, but I genuinely got curious because I consider Econoboy to be a pretty smart guy, and so like certainly smarter than I am, and so like I invited him on the stream and asked him questions about his system, and it came from a place of genuine curiosity. Like I wasn't dismissing him. I still had issues with his system too, and I let him know, but like I can have those conversations and it doesn't go to a place of just immediate contempt or assuming bad faith or assuming the person is stupid. So to that point is, I just wanted to respond to that point. Do you really think that my issue is people criticizing the Democratic Party, or do you think it's the specific criticisms that I'm seeing?
Yeah, when I went before, when I said I was going to go walk the dogs, I listened to about 5 minutes of the debate that we talked about, or not really debate, the conversation you guys had with Rashad. Yeah. I listened to like 5 minutes of it, and like I don't hear anyone directly responding to his points. And if you indulge me and give me 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you exactly what it was. I'm trying to find the exact moment because I don't want to misquote it.
Okay.
But he basically says that Gavin doesn't have the message. It's like Trump has the message. It's that part in the thing where he's like, Trump might not believe the message, but when he speaks, it's like he has the message. And he says Gavin doesn't do that. Like there's no real message to the people from Gavin. And it was a good point, and it was completely ignored. It was immediately pivoted away by, it was either you or I to like something else. And there were like 10 different moments like this where he made a completely salient point and it was dodged and ignored. And it was like, the only thing I can think of is the fact that he has heat for Gavin. Again, as someone who says their their chick is Kamala. Like, I don't understand why it's not just okay, I don't necessarily disagree, but let's move on. But he kept getting pressed on this as if it was an insult to, democracy itself that he would dare say, I do not think Gavin has what it takes to make it happen.
If I recall correctly, we probed him a little bit on his knowledge of Newsom. And again, it's not the fact that he criticized Newsom, it was the specific criticisms. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure well, like one of them was, he said, I don't think he's not showing me any energy that he's actually going to take care of like the fascist shit that we're dealing with. I mean, I
didn't hear anything substantively responding to that.
It's a subjective opinion, I guess, but I mean, Gavin Newsom is uniquely positioned in that he's a governor of a blue state with a blue supermajority legislature. So, Prop 50, like counteracting the aggressive gerrymander in Texas, that's a pretty significant way of fighting the administration. Like when I look at my governor, I see a governor that is definitely aggressively confronting this administration.
Well, again, it's easier to confront it from within the confines of your blue state versus, on the global stage. Now, I'm not saying that it's not meaningful. Like I was fucking thrilled when he was doing that shit. Yeah, fuck yeah. If you're going to steal seats, we're going to take seats too, and we're going to do it democratically. I'm all for that. But he does say in there, I lost it right before. Give me 1 second. It was he did say, I think he makes some allusion to another moment in the podcast, but he's like, you've got this tragedy that just fucking happens. It was like the, walking back things to Ben Shapiro. And he's like, you said all this. You didn't really mean that. And Gavin goes, well, no, yeah, that was a little too much and all that stuff. It's like, but when the fuck do the Republicans see this stuff? And is it not something that we Democrats have been saying for fucking years? Like the Republicans keep playing this fucking game where they don't back down from anything. And we continue to try to play, nice with politics and civility politics and all that stuff. And it's like, here's the same old shit. Like on a podcast where you have the chance to this dude one-on-one to like be smart and to call him on his bullshit for even pressing you that way. And he doesn't.
Listen, I agree that moment was an opportunity for him to center the conversation on the much larger issue than, his staffers' rhetoric on the Governor Newsom press office Twitter account. So I acknowledge that when I watched that bit with my stream that was a failed opportunity. I didn't like that. But if you listen to
I'm not even pushing you.
Hold on,
you keep
cutting. Like, don't cut me off. Come on.
Yeah,
come on.
Go ahead.
If you listen to that whole podcast with Ben Shapiro, he's pushing back against Ben the whole time. And I get frustrated because I know for a fact a significant chunk of people that jump in with their opinions about Gavin Newsom, they have not made any effort to actually like look into how he's governed as governor of California, to look at the bills that he's signed into law, actually watch the full episode with Ben Shapiro. They see one fucking 20-second clip on Twitter of him, walking back what his staffers said. The specific thing was that they called ICE terrorists. Okay. That was the thing where he said, I don't agree with that language. And that was it. That was just a throwaway like moment. Again, it was a wasted opportunity because he could have said, well, are you going to get mad at my staff's language or do you want to talk about what ICE is actually doing? That was like a perfect opportunity for him to do that. And I think that was a missed opportunity. But on the whole, this idea that Gavin Newsom doesn't push back against Republicans, bro, you don't know shit about Gavin Newsom if you really think that.
Well, he didn't say that. He didn't say that he doesn't push against Republicans. And he didn't say that, and he was familiar with Gavin's record. He was familiar with what he's done in California.
I doubt that.
None of that was, there was in that first 10 minutes, like there was that exchange. It was like, are you familiar with X, Y, and Z? And it was like, yeah, I am. He's a great governor. He glazes him.
I mean, I just don't know how you can say that you pay attention to what Gavin Newsom's been doing for several months now and walk away thinking that Newsom is not like ready for a fight. Like he's been scrapping for several months now. And because he walked back like one thing that his staffer said on Twitter in a really brief moment during that exchange on the particular language of terrorist, that means that he's not ready for a fight. I'm sorry. I just think that that's kind of a silly,
so that's what I'm saying. I said this the other day when we talked, is that, sorry, I need you to, it's been a day, man. I need you to repeat what you just said.
I disagree with the assessment. I think it's kind of silly and ridiculous to say that Gavin Newsom is not ready for a fight with the Trump administration.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. He never said that. He's saying that he is not seeing the energy that it's going to take to excise the country of the scourge of Trumpism, and that he's going to be willing to go toe to toe when it counts and make that message clear.
You're not
He's going to play the old games that Democrats have always played, where we're not going to go as hard as Republicans will go on us.
You're not beating the allegations of tanky, just so you know. I mean, the idea
wait, come the fuck on, dude.
I'm sorry. That was over the line. I'm teasing, but I'm saying you can't excise. Like, there's no politician that can tell you right now. Like, I'm
not talking about fucking re-education camps. Let's be clear. I'm talking about
I don't know what it means to excise. I don't know what it means to excise like Trumpism. Metaphor, I don't know what that means.
Metaphor. Like, we're talking about the fact that Trump is not the end-all be-all to the problems we face today. Do you agree with that?
Obviously.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I never denied that. Like, when did I say that that's not gonna? I've never said
that. That was his whole point, and he made that explicitly clear before you even got to the Supreme Court stuff. His whole thing was, I do not see the energy from Gavin Newsom that we're gonna. And he even said he doesn't really see like it from Kamala because it doesn't seem she wants it, like as far as the candidacy. But he's saying I don't see the energy from Gavin Newsom, and I am seeing the Democrats that seem to still rely on the idea that, hey, Trump bad's going to get us something.
Again, I didn't push back on him for simply criticizing Newsom. I pushed back because I disagree with the criticisms. Like even what you just said right there. Number one, there's no politician that can promise, unless you want to do like really kind of tanky authoritarian shit or fascist shit to like excise a political movement. I mean, you can like wield the military to just
No,
throw people in jail.
No,
But
that's like, I don't know if you're doing that on purpose, but I'm not
no,
talking about. I'm saying excise metaphorically, as in like the messaging and the way we approach the problem, and
are you just talking
being
about
willing
beating
to
them in
punish the people
elections?
that will
I,
beat them in elections, but also being willing to punish the people that deserve it for what they did to this country.
but I've never said that I'm opposed to punishing people who did crimes. I never said that.
Then don't take my excise comment so literally. But like the point is that is what he was saying. I don't see the energy from him that he's going to actually go through and prosecute those who deserve to be prosecuted. He's going to address the issues that we're facing. And that the Republican Party is the problem. It's not like Trump goes and you've beheaded the Hydra and
But nobody
it's all
thinks
over.
this. But nobody thinks that if you beat Trump in the next election, we're in the clear. Like all the problems are solved. Nobody thinks this.
Our approach is, again, this goes back to me being upset with people that confirm Trump's folks. Like we had an excuse in 2016. We don't have an excuse in 2026, 2028. Like we thought that maybe Trump might, I don't know, I thought, but I was also a Republican back then, that Trump was going to like normalize himself and be not so fucking weird once he got into office, and he showed that glimmer when he gave his nice little concession or acceptance speach, and
I didn't
it was
think
graceful to Hillary. Yeah, well, I was a Republican back then, so I was hanging on to hope. But then coming into this time, we knew about Project 2025. We knew about all this shit, and this is one of the things you and I disagreed with. But like we may have representatives that are supposed to represent their constituency, but they are also elected to act as proxies and to make the right decisions. And their votes, I don't care, if their district is against abortion, but there's a D next to their fucking name. Yeah, I expect those motherfuckers to vote pro-choice because their vote affects everyone else in this country, not just their constituents. So they can represent their constituents when they want to get a base built or keep a factory going and employed. But on those bigger issues.
Yeah, but I don't know why abortion is not the issue to pick here, because we went from having dozens of congressional Democrats who were pro-life when Obama was president to one in the entire Congress. Like
I'm using that as an example. The point that I don't think that congressional representatives should be voting on behalf of their constituency when it comes to something as severe as the sake of our democracy. And so putting people like Tulsi Gabbard in charge of the fucking CIA.
Okay, all right, hold on.
They have an obligation to all vote.
Let me jump in. What you're talking about in terms of like every Democrat just uniformly voting against every confirmation of the Trump cabinet, none of that matters. We don't have the votes to block them. Like you're focused on
something to the people?
Wait, let me speak. Hold on. You got to work on that. I'll try to do it for you too. Okay. But like you seem to be focused on these things that are just like purely symbolic and they just don't matter. And if you're someone who is a senator serving in a red state, that makes tactical sense to not be seen as just like this partisan obstructionist. And I'm sorry if it offends people that, like such as yourself, he's not those senators are not accountable to you. Like they're accountable to their constituents, and so they're doing what they think is best for their future prospects of winning elections and these kinds of things. And the idea that Democrats weren't warning the country about Project 2025 I find that to be.
I'm not saying there weren't Democrats out there speaking about it, warning about it, but actions speak louder than words.
Well, what does that mean, though? What does that mean?
I'm gonna answer that. So when you say that, like, it's just symbolic, it's like, hey, we do not have fucking control of Congress. We do not have the White House, and we do not have the judiciary. So right now, a lot of what we do have is symbolism, and those symbolic. I brought up Al Green the other day. I got it right this time. I brought up Al Green the other day. Like him walking out, that should have been every other motherfucking Democrat that night. And then the ones that fucking voted to censure him, again, go fuck themselves. That is, I want symbolism, because if we don't have power right now, we can't take action. Yeah, I want symbolism until we do.
I agree. I would rather the Democratic Party focus on exploiting every vulnerability that this administration has right now in ways that make sense, that don't harm our chances electorally. And I would rather they focus entirely on just winning elections. I don't care about all the symbolic stuff. It just doesn't get me the way that it gets you. It wouldn't have made a difference if they voted against these nominees.
I'm going to use.
They have to pick their battles. Like you can't. I think you are making a mistake. I'll just like speak plainly. I think you're making a mistake that a lot of other people are making in the kind of like Democratic Party coalition right now, where you are projecting your anger and your rage on the whole electorate, and the whole electorate are not looking for what you're asking for. Maybe the Democratic voter base are looking for this like constant pick at literally every fight, but the Democrats that need to flip red seats, they need to appeal to a voter base and an electorate that are not filled with those kinds of people. That actually, there's a lot of people that explicitly don't want that kind of partisan bickering. Like, even if it's justified, I mean, I agree with the spirit of what you're saying, but there are a lot of people in this country that they see the partisan back and forth, and that turns them off. And for those people that are trying to target those seats that serve those constituents, it makes perfect sense that they pick their battles. They don't need to pick every single fight. I think that the Democrats have done a pretty good job right now of like picking fights when it mattered, and picking fights that have actually yielded like really positive results. Like, the people say that we didn't get anything out of the first government shutdown. It's complete nonsense. Like, we unequivocally won that political fight. Like, the outcry from people online who called that capitulation and did flowchart logic to blame the Democrats because the Republicans refused to budge during the negotiation process, I thought was nauseating. And right now we're doing a partial shutdown, and there's serious conversations about like serious reforms that are that might take place within ICE. I mean, like, we're the minority party, so that's like, that is really the most material, like, best outcome that we can hope for right now is these budget fights.
Well, you and I disagree on the budget last time. I still think they should have held out longer. With some bullshit promise from the Republicans, but I don't want to.
Well, it wasn't a bullshit promise. They did take a vote. They got a promise that there would be a vote in December, and there was, and the Republicans blocked it. You know, your frustration, your anger should be 100% directed at Republicans. 100%.
Frustration and anger is 100% dedicated to Republicans where it's applicable. But I'm also going to be upset with the Democrats when we don't do enough. And like, to me, okay, look at this. You're on a battlefield, right? Things are bad. There are umpteen different stories from the last 100 years of war history where, you know, everything's bad and dire, and they're totally fucked and outnumbered and outgunned, and they have the, you know, the enemy has the high ground, and then someone just gets the fuck up and charges a fucking machine gun nest, and boom, suddenly everyone's rallied and the adrenaline's pumping, and, you know, the battle is won, right? Like, that is what I'm talking about. Those symbolic things do mean something. I'm not talking about being obstructionist in every single thing, but when it comes to the things that, again, center around, you know, threats to our democracy, that is where I do expect people to start giving me some symbolic, like,
Bruce Green just raided with 1032 douchebag.
So being obstructionist on those pieces, the nominations, no one's losing an election because they fucking obstructed the nomination. Like, the nomination goes through. It's not like it sits there in Congress for a month or anything. It's like, okay, cool, JD Vance casts his vote and the nomination goes through. There were at least like 2 or 3 that went like that.
Thank you guys so much for the raid. Sorry, I just got raided. I was listening. I just got raided. I just want to say, Bruce, thank you, buddy. Welcome, guys. We're in a heated political debate with a very sexually attractive veteran cook.
Flattery will get you fucking everywhere, and I don't appreciate you using that on me.
You know you're fucking hot. You know it. You fucking know it. Hot people know they're fucking hot, okay? Don't play games with me. Don't play fucking games with me. You've known your whole life that you were... Yeah.
Look, I just want to feel like my party is like my fucking congresswoman hasn't fucking tweeted jack shit about what's happening right now. And that really pisses me off.
About Iran?
Is it because we're in fucking Florida? Yeah. Like everyone else is fucking commenting on it. Mine hasn't. What the fuck? And I call and I talk to her assistant or her aide at the one office, and you know, he seems sympathetic and he seems pretty upset and distraught, and like there was a moment later on, like he's giving me the whole like business, you know, voice and all that stuff, and then like later on he kind of opens up a bit and he's like, shit's fucked. And, you know, that made me happy, but it's like, I'm not seeing that from my fucking congresswoman. And we'll see if this vote comes, like,
Did you
where
say
she
you're
ends
not
up
seeing
voting.
enough motion?
I'm not seeing the motion.
Okay.
I'm not seeing like any kind of serious, like, you know, we sit here and we have these conversations in a space that me, most of all, I can't do shit, man. I don't have a big platform. I can't change people's minds, but I'm still fucking raging about it on Twitter. I want to see the fucking people in power actually make me feel like this is like front of mind for them.
See, I think you're speaking to an issue that I have right now with the Democratic voter base, because I don't see the value in spending all that emotional energy every minute of every day. And you brought up kind of the analogy of someone who's like charging out of the trenches and you know, inspiring others to follow them. And I think of things in more in terms of chess. And in chess, you have to make sometimes you have to make a lot of really quiet moves.
I agree with you. Like, let me make that clear too. I'm not one of those liberals that you know, is obsessed with like everything has to be done a certain way. I'm fully aware of the ideas of political capital and you know, compromise and all that stuff. But right now we're not compromising with like the Republican Party of 2009. We're compromising with like a whole new beast that we've not had to deal with in this country.
I don't really see I don't see how we're compromising with the Republicans and so far. Well, apart from like these budget negotiations,
like,
but that's like
that's what I mean.
But that's an appropriate use of leverage. That's like the only very limited case where we have power. And I think the difference between you and me is like, it would not offend me if I mean, I live in California. My representative is very blue, and my senators are pretty progressive. They don't really make controversial votes, usually in line with the rest of the party. And so, but if I did live in maybe a red state or like a light blue state or a swing state, it wouldn't bother me if, you know, a senator that I was constituent of, like, voted for the Lycan Riley Act, for example, because number one, that shit was going to pass. And number two, I consider I consider the consequences of the. Uh-oh.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Like the last 45 seconds, I couldn't. So you said if you lived in a like a light blue purple state.
Then I wouldn't care if they made votes that was out of step with the rest of the party, because they have to consider the consequences of all of those votes. You know, every 6 years for senators, there's like a, you know, a job approval. There's like a job review that happens in the form of primaries and elections. And, you know, every politician in DC needs to consider these things. Now, I like, you know, there are some certain situations where I would want, like the ACA is like the perfect example of this. There were scores of Democrats that voted for the ACA, knowing that it was going to cost them their seat. But the consequences of them doing that were so positive and so vast and so permanent and lasting. I think that's like a valuable, like, political sacrifice. But I don't need them to pick that fight for every single bill. Like, I do want them to win elections. And, you know, you may say, like, well, this thing in a vacuum and that thing alone and that thing by itself, you know, like, I don't think that would have cost them an election. That may be true, but like, it's like constituents consider the totality of that person's vote record. And you generally want more votes that please your constituents than votes that, you know, piss them off and upset them. And, you know, you really never know. Like, sometimes a singular vote is the reason why your constituency turns on you. Like Jamal Bowman, for example, a significant reason why he dipped. Actually, the reason, you can take a look at the timeline. He dropped, like, I don't even know, 20 points in favorability after he voted against the infrastructure bill. So you really do never know. Like, you might make a vote and you may think it's like pretty uncontroversial, but for whatever reason, that particular bill, because some story popped up in the news, it becomes like super salient for the electorate. And, you know, yeah, you do have to consider what your constituency is. And so I feel like, are we getting away from the particular thing about Rashad here? Because, you know, the point I was trying to make was that, I don't have like a don't criticize Democrats policy here. That's never been my policy. It was the specific criticisms that Rashad had that I took issue with. And when I probed him further, you know, he's saying that they weren't doing enough. That was a bit of a red flag for me, because I've had like 1,000 of these kind of conversations. And so I probed him a little bit. And sure enough, he was advocating for something that I would call pretty authoritarian.
So are you talking about the court thing?
It was the court thing, but also, and this has been discussed ad nauseum, I do think it is corrupt for a Democratic presidential nominee to run on lock him up. I think that's corrupt. I don't want to see that from Democrats. It's not needed. You don't need to do that. There are
I don't disagree with you there. Like, I don't want to, like, especially if I spent all those years criticizing Trump for it. Yeah, like, I don't think that it is healthy to run on, you know, locking up your political opponents. That said, do I want that to happen after? Yes. Well, do I think that should be something that ran on? No, it should be part of the, you know, Department of Justice doing its job. Not okay. Well, you agree with me then. Campaign promise on that one. On that one, I agree.
So what were the other ones?
But like the court one, I listened to that conversation, and like it kept getting pushed that way. And it was like, well, what would you do? And he says, well, at some point, then we defy the courts. And I ask this to you. How serious do you think the fascist threat is here?
I think it's very serious. I think the more appropriate question, though, is like, where are we at in the timeline? That's like a different question.
That's what I'm going to get at, because the extreme LARPy thing would say, when does the Second Amendment start becoming something that gets reconsidered?
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't saying that. He was saying defying the courts. And I'd say, how much further do we have to get before we would go to defying the courts?
I would say considerably. And that's the big disagreement that I've been having with like DGG and Destiny and a bunch of liberals. So like, I don't just fight with leftists these days. I'm fighting with a ton of liberals these days, because I think we are a lot of steps removed before that would be something that would be appropriate. And in fact, I would go further with my analysis, and I would say that if you did something like that, like if you just openly defied the court, you would empower the fascists to sweep in the midterms and coast to re-election quite easily. Like I'm saying
I'm saying that Trump's done, right?
Well, I think you're making my point for me. Like the public is very loudly, very clearly expressing to not just pollsters. I mean, that matters, but not as much as like they're making their voices heard in election after election after election after election. We just know for a fact that Donald Trump and his administration have turned off a huge amount of voters that supported him in 2024 because of his corruption. And, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and what I didn't hear him say, what I heard the second time through confirmed it, is he didn't say, this is what I want now. It was, and maybe you guys were talking past each other and this wasn't bad faith on your part or anything. It was, he was engaging with the conversation as it was flowing, but he wasn't saying like, let's do that now. He was saying, it was asked of him, what would you do? And that was after multiple push and push and push further to the next and the next. And then he was like, then we start defying the courts. I didn't hear him say, I am ready to do this. I advocate for this. Or I want to do this. It was, well, then at that point we do this. Buddy. And I think that's a very different answer than him saying, I want this. I'm advocating for it, which is the way that you seem to be taking it.
I disagree. I think you're not accurately describing what he said. I think he was definitely at the point where, like, first of all, he said, like, I'm more focused on what he said about Fox News. Like, that kind of gave the game away for me, because he was talking about like incarcerating Fox News people. I don't know, maybe the owners or the pundits, the mouthpieces. He was not citing a crime. He was just saying that they functionally act as a propaganda arm of the Trump administration to justify arbitrarily detaining them. And then, when I pushed him a little bit further, he tried to come up with a crime, but he said like conspiracy to, I don't even remember what the crime was. Like he was pretextualizing a crime at that point. He was just like, well, it doesn't matter. Like we just have to lock them up. So we can think of something. But he hadn't given any thought to like, well, had they violated a crime? Like, would this be a violation of their constitutional rights? And then when I pushed back and I was like, well, this is what I mean when I say like, don't call yourself a liberal. Like if you're saying just throw Fox News people in jail, that is like obviously about as illiberal as it can get. And then we go back to the disagreement that maybe you and I have in terms of like, how far along are we? I would get to a point eventually where I would be okay with maybe arbitrarily detaining people in the context of preventing civil war or in the course of a civil war. Like at times, extremely illiberal methods are required to deal with some threat. It's usually external. In the case of another country, you go to war with another country. You're dropping bombs on them. You're not applying your liberal principles if it's about survival. I just completely disagree that this moment right now would justify something like that. And in fact, like, tell me how you think that plays out. Like, I'm just curious. President Newsom is sworn in, and then he arrests like the Murdochs, and he arrests like Sean Hannity and Jesse Waters. And like, what do you think the reaction to that is going to be? Do you think that's going to be popular? Do you think people are going to be okay with that? Like, do you think there's not going to be a
No, but I'm reading through the transcript, and it seems now I'm having to decipher what's his words and not, right, because I'm just looking at the transcript. But it seems what his point is that like someone asks him like for what, like what the fuck would you arrest people from or prosecute people from Fox News for? And he says for aiding and abetting, what does he say? He says needs to target Fox News, and for what? And he says lying for aiding and abetting a conspiracy against the United States of America knowingly. Like,
what
is
conspiracy?
that not a prosecution worthy?
Well, what was the first part of that? Hold on. What was the first part for lying? That we do not throw people in jail for lying, by the way.
No, I agree with that. But if it's lying,
all right, so that that's pretty unconstitutional, then, right?
If it's lying in furtherance of aiding and abetting a conspiracy against the United States,
what conspiracy? What conspiracy?
Everything that Donald Trump is doing.
Like,
do you not view this as? Wait, I'm sorry. Is Project 2025 and again the fascistic threat? Is there not an active effort going right now to undermine?
But hang on, I'm asking you for the legal basis to like make an arrest. Like, we have a constitution. You have to come up with if there's a law that they broke, okay, but don't just generally throw out conspiracy to aid and abet. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what law are you saying he broke?
I'm not a lawyer, clearly, but let me guess. I would assume that it would be that if we can prove that certain members of the administration had this plan, and we can prove that people in Fox News either knew of the plan or had an idea that that plan is what was happening, and then geared their coverage to further that plan and their messaging to further that plan, I would assume that that could make them an accessory.
If they actually committed a crime, then sure, I would be perfectly fine with it.
He says that, like, in that,
No,
that is not,
on.
I'm not reading too much into it by saying lying.
You're being too charitable.
You're a conspiracy.
You're being too charitable. I mean, as soon as the guy said for lying, that should give you a sense of where he's at. Like, he is. No, and we pushed him further. And I was the one that was saying, like, you're making the case that liberalism cannot, like, a liberalism alone cannot, like, deal with this problem. And he didn't even dispute that. Like, he was saying, like, he was saying that, yes, sometimes you do have to, like, make serious sacrifices. In this case, constitutional, like a constitutional basis to incarcerate someone. And then he took it even further and said, like, if the court said, well, they haven't broken any laws, get fucked. He said, well, that judge is stupid. They would have to be removed. I mean, like, he's not, I don't know why you're giving him these, like, charitable
Wait, read. I'm sorry. Do you think that any of the justices sitting right now should be removed?
I mean, you could make an argument for, like, Clarence Thomas and Alito for some of the stuff that they've done. Sure. No, but come on.
Wait, hold on.
You're doing it again. He's not saying remove Clarence Thomas because of ethics violations. He's saying remove Clarence Thomas because they issued a ruling we didn't like.
There's a difference between a ruling we didn't like and a ruling that's fucking insane, right? Like, are we not in agreement that the ruling for Trump's immunity was fucking batshit?
Sure, but we have remedies at our disposal now to deal with that problem. It might be a problem that takes many cycles to deal with, but we could.
Maybe I'm wrong. Can we not impeach justices?
Sure. Yes, that would be. That would be fine. Sure.
He didn't say kill them. He said remove them.
No, but you're jumping through hoops to sanitize what he said. I think it was really obvious what he said, which is that we do need to sort of, like, take the guardrails down ourselves and abandon the system to deal with this, like, short-term threat. And that did mean, like, he was trying to, like after the fact, come up with some kind of a basis, but his logic was just like, they're helping Trump do bad things, which that is not enough to, throw someone in jail. Like, you need, like, some kind of a statute to cite that they violated. And if you're telling me now that the next DOJ comes in and they get some tip or they have probable cause to launch an investigation to Fox News and they find evidence of a crime, like, of course, put them in jail. But that's a totally different framing. That's a completely different framing than what Rashad was doing.
What I'm reading here is that he's saying that aiding and abetting a conspiracy to undermine the democracy of the United States.
That's not a crime. I don't know what that is.
The Constitution.
What does that mean? That's not a crime, Lycan. That's not a crime. He's assuming there's a crime.
Okay, wait. Is it not a crime to try to? Maybe it's not. I would assume that trying to undermine our systems to the extent to which that you can, extend your powers and overthrow the systems in place that keep you out of, that would keep you out of office, or that would guarantee you can't run again, or that would guarantee you can't run for a third time. That would weaken the institutions to, exert undue power for one particular party. Would these not be crimes?
I'm asking you for like a statute. I'm asking you for like, give me like a specific crime.
Do I really have to do Chat GPT? Because I'm not a fucking lawyer. I can't cite what it is. I would assume
think
that
it's
some
important.
sort of...
Yes, if you're gonna say like we need to consider jailing.
Okay, we'll just go with January
propagandists.
6th. We'll just go with January 6th then.
I'd
say that insurrection.
I was very much in favor of everybody that was there going to jail. Yeah.
Okay, well then I would be in. Then everyone that helped propagate that knowingly, I think, should have received severe jail time. I do not think Fox News being fined $800 million was enough for what they did. The damage that we're still feeling to this day.
Well, then at that point, you would have to propose like reforms within the system. Like if you want to, like limit speech to the extent that like...
I don't want to limit speech. I want to punish the people that abused their freedom of speech.
Okay, but if there's not a statute that you can cite to like justify throwing someone in jail, then, the best that...
I need to Google. Hold on.
Okay.
Well, you're asking me for a legal statute, and rather than just engaging
it's like a rhetorical question.
You're like, is there even a thing that's legal? And I'm like, if there is, then he's correct.
It's a
like if there is something that can happen to, a statute that can be justified. He didn't say anything about. There's nothing I'm seeing about him talking about subverting our laws going above and beyond.
Then what was the whole point? But what was the whole point of the line of questioning when we got into it? I was like, okay, well then at that point you're saying that liberalism needs to be set aside for the time being to deal with the immediate threat, and he agreed. Yes, he was saying yes, he would want to do that. That is what we're talking about. We're talking about at that point we are talking.
A long point
Lycan, listen to me. At that point we are talking about like abandoning the Constitution to deal with a short-term immediate threat to the republic or whatever. That is what we're talking about. And when we talk about like jailing Fox News people and removing judges, he didn't even say anything about impeachment. He just said, well, we would just remove that judge. It's like, well, I don't know if you have the votes for that.
You getting on me for saying...
Well, I mean, you would need 67 votes.
And you were like, what do you mean excise?
You would need 67 votes in the Senate to get rid of a judge. Do you think you're going to get like Republican support to get rid of a judge? He wasn't even talking about it.
We will.
He was not talking.
Actually, I'm sorry, you're helping.
He was saying we need to abandon the system temporarily. That's what he said. So like, who gives a fuck about
the conversation? That was my whole point, is that you guys went down a chain of conversation that got to that point. I do not believe that this guy who was saying that fucking Kamala is his chick is some crypto tanky that's saying...
I never said he was a tanky.
Nice.
I never said he was a tank. My whole thing in the last couple of weeks is I'm alarmed at the amount of liberals that I'm seeing that are fucking radicalized to the point where they were like, we need Nuremberg, we need to like, the paradox of tolerance. If I see that one more fucking time, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like I'm seeing this from liberals. Liberals sound like fucking tankies in the last couple of weeks. People are becoming radicalized. Man. I understand this shit's bad. I understand that. I get it. I agree. Shit is bad. Yes.
So I want to thread the needle on this. Like the point I'm making, and clearly you don't agree with me, but the point I'm making is that from what I heard and what I'm reading again is the part about ignoring the judges and all that stuff came from a long line of conversation, and it wasn't just an out of nowhere like, yeah, let's just suddenly do this, right? So that's my point there. And I don't think that I'm stretching or reaching or anything to get to that one. I think that is...
Do you understand why I was asking those questions? Do you understand why I was asking him, like, well, what's the mechanism to do this?
Because he, like, the way the conversation went that way, he's saying, I do not believe Democrats are doing enough, and I do not think they are focused on the threat that we are facing. And you kind of helped make my point when you said the...
Wait, hold on. Answer my question, though. Why do you think... So when he says that, right, and then he says these things like, well, Fox News, they have to go, and Trump's got to go, and judges got to go, whatever. Like, why am I asking him, like, well, how are you going to do this? Like, what is the basis to how you would justify it? How could you? What part of the Constitution? What law? Like, why am I asking this?
Well, I could be wrong, but like I said, I'm pretty sure that at that point, you guys had blown past the conversations about elections and all that, which he made himself very clear that he was like pro-electoralism and wasn't like for, you know, he wasn't at the point where it's like, all right, right now we're throwing out the Constitution and we need to just handle this shit. He's talking about pro-electoralism and getting in
No.
candidates that are going to motivate people to actually
Lycan, you keep
vote.
avoiding my question. Why do you keep avoiding it?
I'm not avoiding it.
Yeah. Why am I asking him like, how are you going to
I
do
do
this?
not know. You tell me.
Because
I'm clearly not understanding.
Because I'm getting to the point at that point, and I'm asking the question: are you saying that we should temporarily pause or whatever? Are you saying that we should pause like our fidelity to the Constitution, our liberal, like our fundamental bedrock liberal principles? Are we so far gone that that would be justified to deal with the current threat? And he said yes.
I did not hear him say. So I'll say this. I could be
1,000%.
wrong,
He said
but I'm
yes.
pretty sure that he didn't say
1,000%.
we are there right now.
He did. 100,000%. Yes. And he
I
implied that I was naive. He implied that.
You
Wait, Lycan, listen. He implied that I was naive for thinking that we still have that option at this point. His whole premise was that we are so far past that point that I'm being like feckless or toothless or weak in the face of a big threat, and I don't understand how big the threat is and why that justifies abandoning our fundamental liberal principles. That was his whole thing. Like I was asking these probing questions because I kind of intuited that that's where he was at, and I just wanted to flesh that out. And that's where he's at. That's what he said in his own words. He did not mince words about that.
Okay. Well, my recollection is different, and I'm going to listen to this debate again tonight. And I promise you that tomorrow, if I find that I listened to it and you were absolutely right, I will come on your stream tomorrow and I will make the statement like I was dead fucking wrong. I'll tweet it out too. But my recollection differs from yours.
It's 100. Well, now I want to bring up the stream. I promise you.
Well, I want to also because I think something important to this is that the context of everything that leads up to that moment, right? So he says that. Now he could just outright say, yeah, we're done, we're cooked, it's fucked, democracy's over, burn it to the ground.
Sorry, what?
And if he says that, fine. If he says that, I'll say you're right.
Oh, hang on. Well, let me. I mean, I'm just 100% certain that he was. He did say that we would. Like, he was saying that things are so bad right now. We have no other choice but to abandon our fundamental liberal principles, such as like you need to have a valid crime to prosecute someone. You can't just say like you're a propaganda arm of the administration.
And to be clear, I agree with that.
Then you agree with me. Why
No. I agree. I would agree with that in spirit. Like that. Yes, you can't just say, "Hey, you were, doing propaganda for the admin." It's like, no, you had to be knowingly doing propaganda to further, something against America.
Dasvidani wants me to say that he did a super chat where Rashad himself said that that's what he meant during the conversation, and then he backtracked on that on his stream the next day. I haven't seen what he said in the walking back, but he did say like, never mind, I was caught off guard and I shouldn't have said that we should just remove judges or whatever. So I think that indicates to you that in the context of the conversation we were having, he was talking about who cares about the Constitution? If the judge is giving you shit, just get rid of the judge, right?
Well, like I said, I'm gonna re-listen. But to make it clear what my understanding is, that was basically at that point a hypothetical that came after tens of minutes of conversation, kind of pushing through different scenarios. So, like I said, if I'm wrong, I'll let you know.
Well, he was the one that was saying that like Newsom was not ready for the fight. Newsom was not willing to do what needed to be done, which that necessitated me asking like, okay, well, what does that mean? And that's when he started getting into like basically abandoning the Constitution. Yeah. And so, that was the point of me asking the question, which is like, I'm a little freaked out at the amount of fucking self-described liberals that literally sound completely indistinguishable from like, I wouldn't, a lot of these replies and comments that I'm seeing, if you put them in front of me with no context and ask me, is this a Mike from PA viewer or a Destiny viewer? I would not be able to I just flip a coin. I have no idea. But yeah.
No, this touches on something that for me is like a concern, and it's I don't know how we recover from this. Like I don't know, how we get back and that we're going to be okay, without violence. And I don't mean that like I want it. What I mean is, can you imagine like Nazi Germany without the Nuremberg trials? Can you imagine, I don't know, the Civil War, like the secession and all that shit without them, like really getting their asses kicked. I don't know how we recover from what is so entrenched. Like, if you ask what do you call it? If you ask a Republican, like, that says they don't like Trump, right? I don't like Trump. And they're like, okay, well, so you vote against him. Like, yeah, okay, well, what policies do you support? And then they fucking list off like some of the most egregious shit. Like, again, I'll use my mom as an example, like I did the other night. Like my mom saying that there's a bunch of shit in Project 2025 that she agrees with. So when she still does the bullshit refusal to acknowledge that Trump had anything to do with it, the whole like, it wasn't him. He didn't write it. He said he didn't know about it. And then he, brings in all these people that are enacting it like down the fucking list and still can't acknowledge it. Like a lot of Republicans are like that. So how do we excise that? How do we excise the
reforms? Government reforms.
What reforms? Like what reforms change people's minds that don't just make them feel oppressed? Like how do we stop the Republican Party from being able to just do the same shit?
Win elections.
No, we can win elections, but like we're never going to win so many elections. And this is like one of the issues I have with like I'm a vote blue no matter who kind of guy, but the thing that always bothers me about that fucking rhetoric, and I don't want to rehash the debate from the other night, but like is okay, yeah, vote blue no matter who, but like that doesn't change the fact that when does that end, and when do we start like making people feel like they have their vote back? Well, exactly. So that at that point, it's like, hey, you are now going to be socially shamed for never voting or for not voting for the person that is guaranteed to win, or at least have a chance of winning.
I think you should be shamed for wasting your vote. It's a stupid thing to do.
It's undemocratic.
I didn't say it was undemocratic. I said it was stupid. I mean, you have...
I'm saying it's undemocratic to say that.
How? What do you mean?
Because if
do you think it was do you think your mom was do you think your mom's vote for Trump was a stupid vote?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
But my mom's also a Republican. That's not I think a lot of things she does was stupid.
Yeah, but you thinking that is not undemocratic. It's just you making a value judgment.
Right, but what I'm saying is if that is the continuance, we give the Democrats a shield, and it's like once they pass the primary, they have we have created this entrenched view within the party that okay, they've got a D next to their name, they get my vote.
I think for me, when I look at the Democratic Party and I look at the policies that they implement, when we give them power at the state level and when we give them power at the federal level, it goes way beyond the lesser of two evils. I think that is just completely regarded framework that is silly. It's just fucking silly. There's no question that the Democrats don't disagree. Really good things. The last two times we gave Democrats big enough majorities to pass legislation without, by breaking a filibuster, we got Medicare, we got voting rights, we got civil rights, we got the Clean Air Act, we got the Fair Housing Act, we got the ACA. Like, there's no question that they do things that are not just like less bad. It's like good things that they do. Well, if you don't disagree, then I think that you should be just as upset as I am to hear these fucking idiot lefties like Hasan
and upset about that.
All right, then what is your issue with me? I don't understand what your issue with me is.
But that's not an issue it is an issue with you because I want someone to acknowledge this. That's it. The people that have a bigger platform like you and other folks that talk about the vote blue no matter who is this. That one, the psychosis that has afflicted the Republican Party right now is not going away after Trump.
No.
And so that leads to two, which vote blue no matter who makes Democrats feel safe once they pass the primary. Because
you just agreed with me that Democrats do good policies, dude.
You're missing my point. Is there not power in the fact that, hey, you might be on the ballot for the general election come November, but I still might vote fucking third party if I don't see you do X, Y, and Z.
Sure. Like, yeah, there is power there. You're giving power to Republicans consciously at that point.
No, see, that's exactly it. That is the bad faith shit right there.
It's not bad faith. What do you mean?
No.
What?
Acknowledge this, that you are taking away some semblance of power. I don't want to ascribe a certain amount. some semblance of power is being deprived from the people when you create a system where it is expected that you will vote for the number one candidate with the D next to their name.
It's expected. I mean, it just depends on your values. Like if you want to like protect marginalized people and expand access to healthcare.
Stop. What I'm saying
do you mean? I'm answering your question, bro. It's not about an expectation. It's just about like, what is the most logical thing to do within your...
No, you are putting on the Democrat that makes it past the primary, you're putting on them the idea that, cool, I've made it here, and I have a bunch of people telling their peers that they have to vote for me no matter what.
I'm not telling people that they have to vote for people. I don't have that power. You don't have to vote for people.
No,
you're an adult.
That is your message. No, that's the logical conclusion. And
that's
I'm
not.
What's
I'm saying you're an adult.
It's this right here.
No, hang on a second. I'm not saying you have to vote for the Democrat. I'm saying take ownership of your actions. If you're telling me that you would rather vote third party in a situation like this, that is a very sanitized way of saying I would rather help the Republican win if it means I get to punish the Democratic nominee for not passing my purity test. That's what that means. Just own that.
Purity test is loaded language.
Just own that. Just like say that that's what you're doing. Don't hide behind this. Oh, I didn't vote for Trump. I just voted third party. Bullshit. You know what you're doing. Hasan would know what he's doing in that spot. If he decided to vote for third party and he told his audience to vote for third party, he knows that that would be him helping Vance. He knows that.
We're not talking to a leftist. Don't invoke Hasan and don't say purity test. That's not what I'm talking about.
Wait, what's purity test? What's wrong with the purity test? That's just a term.
If there was a national vote for an anti-BDS law, right? And it was going to say that no employee of a company that receives tax benefits from the United States is allowed to support BDS movements. And to be employed, it must be mandated that you do such. If I am, what you were saying is that I cannot tell my congressman, hey, I do not support this, and I will not be giving you my vote if you fucking vote for this. And you were saying,
you can do that.
The Republican threat trumps it so much that you are not allowed to use your vote. Don't say the thing. Don't say the thing that you're an adult and you can go vote for whoever you want.
But that's what I believe. That is what I believe.
You believe that person, and you've said this, you believe that person is just as bad as a Republican.
In effect, yes. At that point, in practice, in the context of that election, yes. I don't understand how they are different from MAGA at that point.
All I want you to do, this is what I want.
You might as well. Why do the? But wait, why do?
Wait. Let's recenter. I'm a vote blue no matter who got.
Hang on, Lycan. Hold on. At that point, why not just vote for Trump? Like, why are you playing this game? I thought like people do the third party thing so that they can feel like absolved, so they can feel like they just opted out. But you're not opting out. You can't opt out. There is no opting out. It is either the Republican or the Democrat. So if you're going to do this thing where you say, well, Newsom doesn't support Medicare for all, therefore I can't vote for him. Vote for Trump. Like, do that. Like, don't play this fucking game. We're like, well, I voted for Stein. I mean, it wasn't up to me. Like, just own what you're doing. Just fucking own it. That's all I'm saying. Just own it. Okay. That seems reasonable, right? Like, don't try to weasel out of it by saying, well, I'm neutral. I took a neutral action. No, you didn't. You did not take a neutral action.
So, okay. First, 65% of people voted in 2024. Like, 65% of people that were registered. Only 70-something% of people were registered to vote. So, if we talk about you believing that people need to be beholden to their constituents and that they have a power to represent that, then that power is important. If that power is important, then I, as a voter, whether I go to the ballot box or not, as one less vote for the candidate that I would have normally voted for if they've done something that I find too egregious to be able to vote for them. Mm-hmm. It is very much different than actually giving a vote to Trump. It really is. If everyone who has a problem with their fucking candidate gives a vote to Trump, or we're going to say Republicans, because hopefully Trump's not running again. If they give their vote to a Democrat or to a Democrat, or not, that is not a vote for the Republican. It just helps that person secure their victory.
No, this is arithmetic. You cannot escape arithmetic. If Vance goes on to win in this hypothetical, he will have won in part because people like you deprived his opposition of a vote. That's the
Right,
math. You
and-
can't escape the math.
and
I don't
you
know
have
why you're doing
deprived-
this. Why are you doing this?
Because
Why,
you are
why
not
are you
engaging
suggesting?
with me.
You don't
You are not
actually.
engaging with me.
No, but you don't. But you don't believe this. You don't
No,
possibly believe this.
No, I believe that if my congressman does not believe that a significant part of their constituency will deviate and vote for a third party or not at all because of something they do, you take away power from the people. If you create that environment, you take away power from the people. So again, I am a vote
Well, what
blue
does
no
that
matter who
mean?
person. Hold on, no, stop.
When you
I
say they
am
take
a vote blue. I need to get this out because I'm going to see the fucking tweets tomorrow and I don't want to fucking hear it. I'm a vote blue no matter who person. All I'm asking is to give the vote blue no matter who messaging, to shit on the people that are fucking more aligned with us, like Hasan and all those other fuckers, for not using their platforms to explicitly say you fucking vote for the Democrat. It is the best goddamn thing you can do with your fucking right. I am all for all that, but all I want is the littlest concession that yes, you do take a modicum of power away from the people by not giving them the space to tell their congressmen they're not going to fucking vote for them or to act on it. You can say that it helps the Republicans to do so. That's fine. But I want to hear the littlest concession that yes, that threat of not voting for them or voting for third party is important to the people and that you are depriving them of that when you give Democrats the because they're not in a fucking vacuum. They're not living on an island right now. They hear this shit. So if that continues to grow and grow and grow, and we have a huge issue with down ballot voting. So as that continues to grow, you do take away from the people that little bit of power of the threat because they're like, hey, you know, those fucking fascists are on the other side now. They're not the Republican Party. Fucking, they're neo-Nazis. Like, they're fascists. So you vote for them, you're going to get more ICE, you're going to get more reduction in civil liberties, you're going to get more things like abortion bans and all that shit. You just say that, and all I'm asking is just acknowledge that, yes, you do take away that little bit of threat that the people have to those who are in power.
I do not acknowledge. Can you tell me how I am taking away their power? What does that even mean?
Because you create an environment where the Democrats believe that they get passed to the general and they are safe and that their constituency is going to vote. Because we are creating an environment, which we should be to a degree, where people are expecting, like I am expected to go out and vote. And not only that, I am expected to go out and vote for the Democratic candidate.
You're an individual. You have free will. You can.
Don't do that.
It's not about.
That's like
no, but come on.
That's
You're
like telling
like
telling your partner like do whatever you want, but really you have an opinion on it.
But it's the truth,
like, don't
bro.
say that shit.
You are infantilizing these people. You are suggesting that they had no choice but to help Republicans win elections. I'm not taking away anyone's power.
No. Take away everything right now. We're in a vacuum. All right. Does not the individual, and whether or not they choose to go out and vote, have a sway over the thoughts and feelings of the candidate running for election?
Sure.
Are they not concerned with who's going to show up to vote and who's going to vote for them?
Sure.
Even those within their own party.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So does creating the environment where we are growing to pressure people more and more to get out and vote and to vote blue no matter who, does that not diminish that if it is taking hold and more people are in alignment and agreement with that? Does the candidate not become aware of this? And therefore, do the people not feel pressured to fucking vote that way? And therefore, the candidate has less and less to worry about people not showing up and voting for them.
I completely reject the premise that you are applying leverage in a way that is effective by depriving your vote for the Democrat in the general. Like once that there are so many points before you reach the general and so many different ways to apply leverage. That is way more relevant in the context of a primary. And there are other ways besides threatening to help Republicans win elections to apply leverage. You don't have to jump to that. That's kind of suicidal, but people are choosing to do that. I can't take that power away from them. And me saying that was a stupid decision for them to do that, that's just me making a general observation. Yeah, I think it's really dumb if you're like even vaguely on the left to help Republicans win elections because maybe the candidate deviated from your preferred policy platform. and especially in the context of a presidential election. I mean, talk about having to compromise. Like, you're running for a seat that represents 340 million people. Like, I just view things fundamentally different, Lycan. Like, I have no illusions that the person that I vote for president is going to be someone that perfectly lines up with me on policy. That would be insane for me to think that.
You are diminishing my argument. I am not saying that the Democrats are going to be worse. I'm not saying that one deviation from something I feel is going to make them suddenly the worst candidate that could run. But there are like, for instance, there's this whole thing going on with Iran. And if my congresswoman doesn't vote for the War Powers Act, I am going to still vote for the bitch in 2028. Or no, 2026. She's up for election in 26.
Great.
I'm still going to vote for her. That doesn't mean that the piece that I'm talking about changes. I'm doing it because, again, I do view the fascistic threat that we are seeing as a significant mountain to overcome. But I acknowledge that the more my congresswoman feels that I'm going to go out and vote no matter what, she therefore, like, imagine that we're just having this conversation, her and I, like you and I are right now, right? And I just tell her to her face, like, hey, I really don't want you to fucking vote for this. But you know what? I'm going to vote for you anyway. And imagine that she had the capacity to have that conversation with every other fucking individual, right? And let's say that in 2020, she had that conversation. And, I don't know, let's say 40% told her, like, hey, yeah, if you vote for X, I'm not going to vote for you. I'm going to vote third party. I'm just going to abstain. I'm going to stay home, whatever. I'm not coming out to vote for you for that. But then in 2026, she has the same rounds of conversations and only 10% of people say that. Do you not think that's going to influence whether or not, and let's say that each time it was like one issue. Do you not think that's going to influence how she votes on that issue?
You should absolutely, as a constituent, and this applies for anybody, should absolutely make your voice heard to your representative and your senator through myriad different ways. You can protest outside their office. You can request a meeting to talk to some of the staffers. You can do what you talked about doing, which is you can like call their office. They do like field those phone calls. They do listen to those constituents. That does actually matter. And I've talked to many people that have worked in politics. Like, calling your local representative actually does make a difference. If like enough people do it, then it freaks them out. And there's all kinds of ways for you to exercise leverage. I would never, ever say that you shouldn't do those things. You should just not complain about anything. I've never said that. I've never said that.
But what is the point if you're going to do if again in this scenario, like it, but at the end of the day, she knows that like that might only affect 10% of the fucking the registered Democrats.
It might not work. I never said it's always going to work. No.
But that's what I'm saying. That is the whole point. Is that if the people in Congress have the and the person running for the White House, that they have the sentiment that, hey, I'm getting that vote no matter what, and I've got the fucking DNC, and I've got the independent media, and I have all these streamers, and they're all leading the charge for that, and they're telling their friends the same thing, and then we're doing polling, and we're seeing that, yes, I will vote blue no matter who, and that is growing and growing and growing. They're not going to, the protests are going to feel like, I can ignore this.
Well, listen, I mean, if you're a constituent in a district, and it's this intransigent representative, and they don't seem to be responding to your pressure, no matter what happens, and you get to the general, you have a choice to make in that moment. You can vote for your representative that maybe lines up with you most of the time, but it's just not budging on this issue, or you can roll the dice with a Republican. And those are your options usually. I mean, sometimes there's an independent. Usually they either caucus with Democrats or Republicans, but those are your options. And every voter needs to make that decision for themselves. I've never suggested taking away that power. And I mean, if anything, Lycan, and this is the part that frustrates me the most. One of the lessons that the Biden presidency, I mean, that was a valuable presidency in terms of a learning moment. And one of the most valuable lessons that I think the people that I criticize the most should have drawn from that presidency is you actually can move an elected politician after they take office. He was elected and he moved left on, so many issues. On so many issues, he went beyond what he campaigned on, and he did respond to pressure from his left flank. And I don't think that the lefties that I'm talking about learned that lesson. I don't think they understand that at all. I think they see the Biden presidency as an abysmal failure, and they see what he did as like scraps, and they subscribe to Green Lantern theory of politics, where they think he should have been able to fucking snap his fingers and get everything he wanted in the 50-50 Senate. And I think they don't understand that he was like the most legislatively accomplished president in the modern era. Like by far, what he was able to do with those margins is insane. And they did not learn that lesson. And a big reason why they didn't learn that lesson is because of this media ecosystem, this alternative media ecosystem that I'm talking about, that is just filled with people that are pumping their brains with the most vapid commentary, most idiotic commentary. They're actively depressing the vote. And then people wonder why I spend a lot of time talking about Hasan and other lefties.
And that's a perfect segue to bring it back around, which is my issue is that if you ever worked somewhere and you've had that just, I don't know, like an unnecessarily hostile piece of shit, like someone you just really don't want to fucking deal with. And have you ever just taken that person aside and said, hey man, let's fucking talk. Let's squash this beef. Like, what the fuck's wrong? Like,
they don't, come on, they're not, come on, bro. I mean, these people are, these people are so belligerent. I don't understand why. I get
7 years around here. I have not seen that shit. I have never seen someone try to have a good faith conversation and like squash the beef. I haven't. It's been war the whole time. I have not seen someone that is just willing to come in and try to like, dude, let's talk. Like the fucking Adam Mockler conversation. I know you didn't like it, but I thought that was fucking great. And I think that is the best way to present yourself in front of these audiences, because at the end of the day, the figureheads are one vote, but the figureheads are also, like, we see this in every fucking community from Taylor Swift to fucking, I don't know, pick your fucking, probably Pisco. Like, there are always going to be.
Wait, let me hold on real quick. I just want to ask you a question. Do you think that Hasan Piker is generally someone who operates in good faith?
I'm thinking on that, because it's like, well, what do I mean by bad faith? Like, because like he says a lot of shit I don't agree with, so I can't. For example, that's not explicitly bad faith. So, for example,
he has directly accused me of being paid by Progressive Victory to do propaganda for Israel.
Yeah, if that's it. Yeah, because he also called me a fucking Zionist, and I mean, right? I think anyone in your audience who knows me knows how fucking laughable that is.
He will very flippantly, very casually, at the drop of a hat, make stuff up, just outright lie, and he knows they're lies. Like, he will. People that criticize him, he gets so sensitive about tweets that go nuts, that get a lot of likes and stuff, that are dunking on him. He gets so sensitive about that. And his way of dealing with that he has demonstrated over and over and over and over again, is he will pull their tweets up on his stream. He will not necessarily like call for his audience to brigade, but that is what he's doing. He will lie about them. He will accuse people of being paid by Chorus. He's accused Chorus of being a propaganda arm for Israel. And at the same time he's doing that, he's like trying to like reach out to Brian and fucking brown nose him, which is insane. Like, I don't know how anybody could ever say that this guy's operating in good faith. He's so obviously not. So why the fuck would I make any effort to build a bridge with him? Why?
Because he has a massive fucking
but he's a bad faith. So how do I do that? What is building a bridge with someone who will fucking lie about you?
First, first it would be having to get him to engage with you. And, you know, Hasan is very selective in how he does that.
But why? Why would I do that? This is not somebody, again,
for the sake of democracy, for the sake of guaranteeing a voter bloc that clearly has power.
Should I try to build bridges with like Benny Johnson?
Well, okay, Benny, again, this is the point I made the other day. These people, like Benny Johnson, I'm saying
Hasan is just as bad as him. I'm saying Hasan is just as bad as Benny Johnson. That's what I am saying. Yeah, but
Hasan at the end of the day probably aligns with you like, 100 times more than Benny Johnson.
No, not really. No, like Hasan's project, and tell me if you agree or if you disagree. Hasan's project is not about building a strong, durable, big tent coalition. He is only interested in advancing politicians that meet his very strict criteria, which is like 4 people. You know what I mean? Like he is never going to tell his audience, you should vote for the moderate that won their primary in your state. Maybe they want to vote to fund the Iron Dome. Like, he will never, ever, ever tell his audience to do that. He will only try to elevate and amplify, candidates that meet his, you don't like the word purity test, but that's just a neutral term. It's
You're
not
talking about
to,
him now, so you can say that.
He will only go to bat for politicians that he thinks are advancing his broader goal of some fucking socialist utopia. But I'm at the point with him that I don't think he actually gives a shit about any of that. I think it's literally just about clout and influence and money and personal enrichment and self-aggrandizement. I really don't think, I think he has convinced himself that he's ideological, but I don't think he thinks about these things.
That's the other thing is like, if you can't reach these people, like you can't reach the person, right? You make yourself unimpeachable in your criticisms. And so when you criticize them, it doesn't seem like you're just leaning into the drama du jour and you're going to take the same digs that everyone fucking else is. It's that you keep your criticisms meaningful and engage in a way. It's like,
I think I do, by the way. I think I do. I have so many specific criticisms of Hasan. This idea that I only...
Wait, hold on. Have you ever not seen like the streamer space, the moment someone calls someone stupid, even if they were on good terms, just that one act of calling them stupid, suddenly everyone loses their fucking mind?
What's this about? What are you talking about?
In the like online politics, especially back when like all those debate panels were happening all the time, there could be people like these streamers that were on good terms, and then the moment that someone says this person's fucking stupid or whatever slur you want to use, the moment that happens, people lose their fucking minds. Their entire audiences turn against that person for making the criticism that way, and everything breaks down. It's like it's done. Like with literally one reaction video, it's all over.
Well, I just want to do a little. I'm gonna do some audience participation here, and I want you guys to be honest. Don't juice the numbers. Give me your honest answer. If it doesn't apply to you, then don't speak up. But I'm just curious, guys. Of everybody that's in both of my chats right now, in Twitch and on YouTube, are there any of you guys that used to listen to Hasan but persuaded to move away from his community and now don't like Hasan very much because you heard very convincing and even aggressive arguments against the stuff that he was saying?
You remember what I said about that the other day when we talked?
No.
You told me about all the people that have emailed you about just this thing, and I've said, okay, I guarantee, I don't think I'm being flippant by saying I don't even think the number of emails you receive accounts for 1% of Hasan's viewership. I made the point that you will get more people. No, but I'm a man of modest means.
I'm a man of modest means. Okay,
I'm not making fun of your size or anything like that.
It's not just me fighting this fight though. So I am in solidarity with other libs that are down to fight this fight, okay? Because I don't think you can be weak with these people. I think Hasan is very similar to Donald Trump. I think he's a bully. I think he is a narcissist. I think he's I'm at this point thinking I'm kind of convinced that he's slightly psychopathic with the way that he treats his audience and scolds them if they don't like his tweets enough. It's actually insane to me. And I don't think with those people you beat them in the kind of arena of online politics by being civil. I think you do need to be very confrontational with those people. I think that's actually the most effective way.
Another impasse for us, because I do believe that the way you talk about the figurehead completely impacts the way that people are willing to engage with you. And so
I realize it's going to turn. I think it's going to turn a lot of people off, but there are a lot of people that I think have been persuaded away from Hasan because people have been, confrontational with him. Hasan is a bully. He is a bully. He will wield his audience like a weapon, and he has trained them like fucking dogs. He's literally trained them. When people step out of line in his chat, he pulls up their chat logs on the screen. He fucking humiliates them, and he trains his audience to just be these parrots for him. And it's pretty remarkable. You almost have to be impressed with the level of control that he has. And I don't think that I don't think doing the Mockler strat, I think, is going to work with him. I think you do need to, I'm not necessarily saying go the extent that Destiny does. I think he goes a little too edgy for me. But I do think you need to be confrontational, and I don't think you're going to dissuade me from that. I just really don't.
I'm not against confrontation. It's more there's a certain degree that people will repeatedly cover certain individuals or the way that they'll talk about it. And it's, I now realize that I'm getting back to like my old fucking ways of just being like, hey, can't we all just get along? But these aren't Republicans. Whether or not they're socialists, tankies, whatever, at the end of the day, they're not Republicans. And at the end of the day, they don't want to see us regress on like, gay marriage and shit like that. They don't want to see us fucking, go down a totalitarian rat hole and fucking, succumb to the threats of Trump and all that stuff.
I gotta tell you, like, and I'm not so sure.
And,
I'm really not so sure. I mean, I don't know if you heard, but there was a moment in the conversation he had with Mockler where Mockler asked him, do you think it'll be easier to accomplish your goals of, moving closer to socialism? Do you think it would be easier for you to accomplish those goals if the Republicans win or the Democrats? And he said, oh no, there's no question it's easier if the Republicans win. And he's right. Like he's like historically, like the kind of regimes that he holds up as a example for how to govern they arose from like chaos and total destabilization. I do at this point. I do think he's an accelerationist.
Campaign for anything except fucking Republicans.
I do think he's an accelerationist. Yes, I do. Yeah. How else could you explain voting third party hypothetical Newsom versus Vance? That is accelerationism, 100%.
Well, again, that goes back to my like, hey, I don't like the comment he made, so I feel like I have to, in the online politics space, I have to not hedge. I have to throat clear a lot. I didn't like him making that comment. I thought it was fucking stupid and all that stuff.
Don't I look like a fucking cuck? Don't I look like a fucking bitch if he accuses me of shilling for Israel, being paid by PV to shill for Israel, and then I go to him and I'm being fucking nice and like conciliatory?
I'm not saying be his fucking friend.
I'm literally people going to respect me? How the fuck are people going to respect me if I'm doing that?
Hey, if he says something, look, if I had a bigger platform, I probably would have done a whole huge stream about him calling me a Zionist, right? But I don't. So, I make a fucking tweet about it and I move on, right? So I'm not saying, like, if he's saying shit about you, don't fucking talk shit about it and how dumb it was and all this other stuff. What I'm saying is when you cover him because he's making, some, like, again, his Newsom thing. You want to cover that? Cool. Do it. All I'm saying is the way that you fucking do it is going to have an impact on who's going to listen to you. So if you go on and you have a stream that, is more evocative, I guess, of my speaking style, and it's like, hey, like, you can't do this. Like, this is too important of a lesson. You guys should have learned your lesson from 2024. Like, that things got real bad. Things are bad for Gaza, which is a huge issue for a lot of the people in that audience. Things are bad for immigrants in America and all this other shit. Like,
some of them helped that happen. Some of them helped that happen.
They did. And so
I don't like that.
I mean, I literally said, like, they hopefully will learn their lesson. And if they haven't, and they're still having these conversations, again, I address it in a way that is going to hopefully get people to change their fucking minds and not, again, like just sour them to listening to you, because Hasan is one vote. His audience is a lot.
I agree. I'm not trying to, I don't have ambitions to like deplatform him. I wouldn't even want to if I'm a fucking liberal, right?
I'm not talking about that.
But I'm saying like, listen, I'm just doing my small part, and I do think that I do think that the way that I engage with him is more effective than your way. I really don't think that with people like Hasan, you can be like, he is a snake. He is a liar. He's completely bad faith. He is a bully. And I don't think you should treat those people with respect. I don't think you should treat them in good faith. They're not in good faith. They don't even particularly try to hide that they're not good faith. He's just a total fucking snake. And I just, I'm never gonna be this nice person with him. It's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. I, appreciate your input, but that is not gonna happen. My own dignity, my own self-respect.
You do you, boo-boo. I'm just saying that I think that it is less effective.
Okay.
Like if the ultimate goal is entertainment, you're doing great. If the goal is to actually move people, like, and move the needle in a significant, meaningful way, I think, that's where I'm like, hey, I think there are better ways to go about this.
Well, I appreciate the conversation. I'm not going to be persuaded away from this. This is not something that I landed on. By the way, I did years ago have a direct line to Hasan. We spoke on stream several times. He started to get like really, really big. And at that point, I usually don't like, honestly, like the bigger somebody gets, like that's like a content creator that I know, the less I want to reach out to them not because like I think it's like it makes him bad, but I don't like being clout sharky. I like kind of being on my island and whatever. But I had many conversations with him, kind of touching on this topic, and I was like nice in those conversations. You know, I was a little like playfully kind of jabby at times, but I was overall like it was a nice tone. And sometime between then and now, you know, like he, for example, I think like it started to escalate between me and him personally when he, you know, he pulled up a clip of mine on one of his streams, and it was this girl who had gotten shot in the face, and she survived. And then like a resist lib person, you know, quote retweeted the story and was like, "This is why it's really important to vote." And nothing triggers these tanky fucking idiots that Hasan is like the lord over. Nothing triggers them more than by reminding them that like voting can help to stop these things. They just hate that. They fucking hate it. They think it is so naive and toothless, and they're all LARPy idiots that fantasize about doing violence and then like never do violence. And I commented on, I was like, well, you know, they kind of have a point. Like voting probably could help if we, you know, like elected more people that were willing to do like gun control measures. And then Hasan pulled up my tweet when he was streaming one day, and he accused me of having liberal brain rot. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we've crossed a line here. And well,
without having seen anything, I mean, I'll take you at face value there. The same thing on my end. I had a couple of debates with him, and you know, then I fucking, you know, I got lumped in with everyone else he hated, and you know,
well, that's because he's bad faith, and he tries to smear anybody who might criticize him, and maybe he feels as a threat to him, so he calls everybody like Destiny Orbiters. But by the way, I just want to say that that young woman that got shot in the face, she came out with an op-ed the next day stressing the importance of voting. So he did all that fucking bullshit. What's up, Lonerbox? He did all that fucking bullshit white knighting for this young woman, and then she took my position the next day. So I'm just saying it escalated with him. It didn't come out of nowhere. He started escalating his attacks more and more and more. And, you know, it was a gradual process, but now I have nothing but contempt for that guy. I don't think he's owed any respect, you know, I don't think he's owed any respect. Yeah.
I don't blame you. And I think that it's an extreme abuse of his platform to not be using it to guarantee that the Democrats win in 2026 and 2028. So you and I are in complete alignment there. I'm just more flies with honey kind of.
You should join me.
No, because I think I told you, I think, you know, I want to let you rap and all that stuff, but like we talked about this the other day, like I think that, you know, there are a lot of moments where we're focused on the crazy lefties and all that stuff, and I think that it is ineffectual. And I think I just, you point them to me, and it doesn't have to be right now. Someone point me to a liberal streamer or a liberal content creator that is working to build genuine inroads to capture that audience's votes.
I don't think you should spend a lot of time targeting them. I think that's a waste of time. Personally.
You say that, but then again, did they not have an impact on the election?
I mean, in their own way, and whether or not it was outcome determinative. Like my thing is like, if you can claw away, you know, first of all, like he does have big numbers on Twitch, but in terms of like the total share of the electorate, they are very kind of niche and fringe. My concern is his kind of overall, his potential to bring more people radicalized to his side. Like that's what I'm trying to do, is like focus my efforts to just at every chance I get to try to discredit this person and expose what a fucking vapid, dishonest bully he is. But I don't think you should spend a lot of time like trying to court like his stream watchers. I don't think you're gonna get a lot of return on your investment there.
So what
you know what this feels like? Do you watch Fallout, the show on
I have only seen the first 4 episodes, please no spoilers.
So you know the ghoul character at this point?
Yeah.
And the girl?
Yeah.
Have they linked up yet? Not that they do.
No, they have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like the ghoul and you're like the girl. That's how I feel. Like give it a few years, and then maybe you'll be thinking like I do. And which is
I am pretty.
Anyways, but I do have to go. My head is fucking pounding and I have to feed my pets, so.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate the chat, and we'll have to do this again soon, man.
All right, man. I did enjoy that, and I hope you guys have a good weekend and everything. Have a good rest of your week.
Have a good one, Hutch. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.